The sun was sinking low over the rugged western plains when Cowboy Jace Morrell rode up to the abandoned homestead, dust swirling beneath his boots as he dismounted, sensing something terribly wrong even before he reached the porch. The air carried a silence too heavy, too unnatural, like the land was holding its breath. When he pushed the cracked door open, the whimpering inside froze him mid-step. Two children, dirty, trembling, barely holding themselves together, huddled against a broken table turned sideways as if they had tried to use it as a shield. The boy, maybe 7 years old, stood protectively in front of his little sister, who clung to him with her tiny fists wrapped around his shirt. Their faces were stained with tears, dust, and fear deeper than any child should ever know. "Sir, please don't hurt us," the boy cried out, voice cracking. Jace dropped to a knee instantly, hands raised, heart clenching at the sight before him. "Nobody's hurting you," he said softly, his voice warm despite the cold knot forming in his stomach. "Where's your ma and pa?" The boy's lip quivered, and he looked toward the door, as if afraid the truth itself would summon monsters. "Bad men came. They took pa. Ma tried to stop them." His voice broke completely, and he shoved his face into his sister's hair to hide the tears. The girl whimpered, "They'll come back." Jace swallowed hard. He'd seen the work of outlaws before, cruel men who preyed on the weak, who left towns in fear and families in ashes. But he had never seen such small children left to fend for themselves. He gently placed his hat on the floor beside them, a gesture of peace, and reached for his water flask. "Drink, both of you," he said. The boy hesitated at first, then took it with shaking hands, lifting it carefully to his sister's mouth before taking a gulp himself. Even in fear, the boy was protecting her. Jace respected that. "Tell me what happened," Jace urged. The boy clenched his fists. "They wanted Pa's land. Said he owed them. Said they'd be back for us if he didn't pay." Jace felt anger burn hot in his chest. "And your pa?" he asked gently. They dragged him toward the canyon. Ma ran after him. "We don't know where they are now." The girl began to cry again, burying her face into her brother's shoulder. The boy tightened his arms around her and whispered, "I won't let them take you." Then he looked back at Jace, eyes shining with terror and determination, far too old for his small frame. "Sir," the boy choked out, "if they come back tonight, hide my sister, please." Those words struck Jace deeper than any bullet ever could. A child begging a stranger to save his sibling, fully accepting his own fate in the process. Jace's jaw tightened. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder and shook his head slowly. "Son," he said in a voice steady as stone, "I ain't hiding nobody." The boy's eyes widened in panic, but Jace continued, voice firm, unbreakable, "Because those men aren't laying a finger on either of you. Not while I'm breathing." His words were not a promise, they were a vow carved in iron. The boy stared at him, unsure whether to trust hope again. And then, outside, a distant rumble echoed across the plains. Hooves, many of them, growing closer. Jace stood up, eyes narrowing, as the shadows of riders approached through the dust-laden horizon. He reached for his revolver, steady, ready, fearless. "Stay inside," he commanded gently, "and keep your sister close." The boy trembled but obeyed, pulling the girl under the table for cover. As Jace stepped out onto the porch, the last rays of sunset caught the barrel of his gun and the determined set of his jaw. The wind whispered through the grass, as if warning him of the storm about to break. But Jace Morrell didn't flinch. The riders were coming, and he would be facing them alone. Because some fights chose you, some injustices demanded blood, and some children needed a hero, whether he was ready or not. And Jace Morrell was ready, more ready than he had ever been in his life. The thunder of hooves grew louder, shaking the dry earth as a gang of 6 outlaws rode into the yard, their faces hidden behind scarves stained with the dust and sins of the frontier. Their leader, a tall man with a scar dragging down his cheek like a claw mark, pulled his horse to a stop and sneered at the sight of a lone cowboy standing in their path. "Move along, stranger," he barked, adjusting the rifle strapped across his lap. "This land ain't your concern." Jace didn't blink. "Funny," he said calmly. "I was about to tell you the same thing. The leader's eyes narrowed. "Where are the brats?" he growled. Jace stepped forward with such certainty the ground seemed to shift around him. "Gone," he lied, voice cold. "And you won't be finding them." A murmur passed through the gang, but before they could say more, Jace's hand moved faster than lightning. One gunshot split the air, dropping the nearest outlaw from his saddle. Chaos erupted instantly. The gang scattered, bullets flying, horses screaming, but Jace dove behind the water trough, firing deliberate, precise shots that sent two more crashing into the dust. The gang leader cursed and fired wildly toward the house. The window shattered, and Jace's blood ran cold. Those kids were inside. "Not today," he muttered, rising from cover and sprinting toward the barn as bullets chased his heels. He rolled behind a wagon wheel just as another outlaw charged at him with a shotgun. Jace grabbed the man's wrist, slammed his elbow into the outlaw's jaw, and wrestled the shotgun free. One blast, and the outlaw dropped. 4 down, 2 left. The leader snarled and signaled to the last outlaw, who dismounted and began creeping toward the house, gun drawn. Jace's heart hammered. They were going after the kids. He burst from behind the wagon, firing a full round that forced the remaining outlaw to take cover. But the leader had already reached the porch. "Come out, little uns," he taunted. "Your pa can't save you, and neither can that cowboy." Inside, the boy squeezed his sister close, eyes squeezed shut. "Sir, please," he whispered. Jace heard it. Something ancient and furious ignited inside him. He charged straight across the yard, bullets tearing the air around him. The leader swiveled to aim, but Jace didn't give him the chance. He tackled the outlaw so hard they crashed through the railing. They rolled in the dirt, fists flying, each punch fueled by hatred on one side and righteous fury on the other. The leader pulled a knife, slashing across Jace's arm, but Jace grabbed his wrist and slammed it into the ground until the blade flew out of his hand. A final punch, hard enough to crack bone, and the leader fell limp unconscious. The last gang member, seeing his leader defeated and the bodies of his companions scattered across the yard, dropped his weapon and fled on horseback, disappearing into the canyon like a coward. Jace stood, breathing hard, dust and blood coating his shirt. The world finally fell quiet. He turned toward the house and the door creaked open. The little girl peeked out first, then ran to him, wrapping her tiny arms around his leg. The boy followed slowly, eyes wide with disbelief. You fought them," he whispered. "All of them." Jace knelt, placing a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. "I told you," he said softly. "Nobody's taking your sister." The boy's lip trembled, and for the first time since Jace found them, he allowed himself to smile, small, fragile but real. "Thank you, sir," he murmured. Jace ruffled his hair. "You're safe now, both of you." As the night settled over the plains, Jace knew there was more to do, finding their father, laying their mother to rest, rebuilding the life that evil men had tried to steal. But tonight, these children would sleep without fear, and Jace Morrell, loner, drifter, reluctant guardian, had become the hero they never expected. And for viewers watching this story today, if tales of courage, sacrifice, and unexpected heroes touch your heart the way this one does, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because more powerful stories like this are coming. Stories of hope, justice, and the kind of bravery the world still needs.